Everybody, welcome to Bayou Bengals Insider. I'm Jimmy Frederick. This is our exclusive look at the possibilities for the 2011 recruiting class for the LSU Fighting Tigers. Along with me, as always, recruiting guru and publisher of BayouBengalsInsider.com, Derek Ponamsky. Derek, first of all, we need to congratulate the Tigers on a great victory in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, it was a dominating performance in Dallas and certainly finishing the season with a lot of energy propelling them into the recruiting season.
All right, now the question is, we certainly are not speculating on what Coach Les Miles is doing, but as a recruit, as somebody that follows recruiting day in and day out, how does this affect your thoughts as you get close to signing day, just 3 weeks out now?
What most of these recruits are looking at is the big picture here. These guys that committed to LSU didn't exactly commit to the head coach. If Les Miles sticks around, stays, everything will be fine. There'll be no damage at all. If anything, LSU's getting a lot of great publicity about their head coach turning down a big-time job. If he leaves, some of these guys will look at position coaches that'll come in and the guys that have recruited them. Most guys want to stick with LSU because it is a successful program, but in the event that major changes happen, they may start to look elsewhere.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. We certainly are expecting the best and wishing for the best. Today's show, last week we looked at the offensive line and linebackers. This week, it'll be the defensive linemen and the running backs. We have a lot more coming up on Bayou Bengals Insider, back after this. Welcome back to Bayou Bengals Insider. I'm Jimmy Frederick. Along with me, recruiting guru and publisher of BayouBengalsInsider.com, Derek Ponamsky. All right, Derek, last week we talked about the offensive line and linebackers. This week we talked defensive line. And now, Coach Brick Haley, the defensive line coach, who we'll talk to later in the show, what's he looking for as he picks up a couple of defensive tackle commitments?
Right now, LSU's looking at some big bodies in the middle. You got Anthony Johnson already on the board. Quentin Thomas is the other commitment. Thomas was a defensive end who's going to bulk up a little bit. They're going to slide him down. LSU's looking for some edge rushers to add into this class, some guys that can play defensive end, pressure the quarterback. Right now, where LSU's at, they've only got 2 commitments. They probably would like to bring in 4 defensive linemen, so they've still got some work to be done.
3 weeks left to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not looking at much time, but LSU's in on some of the higher national prospects, and then there's some great players in state that LSU's still recruiting as well. I think that on signing day, LSU, in addition to what they have right now, LSU will add one defensive tackle, and 1 defensive end.
All right. First and foremost, you talk about high prospects. Number 2 in the country, number 2 in the free world, as you like to say.
Absolutely.
Anthony Johnson, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. We saw him 2 or 3 times this year on the Cox 4 Game of the Week with O'Perry Walker, and man, this guy is an absolute monster. They call him the Freak.
Yeah, he's tough, he's explosive, He makes tackles. He's not just a guy that looks good getting off the bus. He's a football player. He pressures the quarterback as a state record, national records in sacks. He's a guy that from the inside, a 3 technique, can really do a lot of things. Phenomenal prospect.
Well, and what I was impressed with is his ability to shed blockers. Obviously, he's bigger and stronger than most guys out there, but his ability to stick with the play and continue it no matter what, even if he was blocked a little bit, amazing to me.
He makes plays downfield, but the most impressive thing about him is that he's a leader.
Yeah.
He is a guy that off the field gives you everything you could ever possibly want. He's the kind of guy that you build championship programs around.
Mr. Football, All-American, Mr. Everything. That's about all you can say.
There's not, honestly, the only other thing you can say is that I can't wait to see him in purple and gold.
Without question. And we will be talking with him right after we get through with this segment. We'll talk with him a little bit more, learn a little bit about what makes him the leader that he is and what makes him such a great guy. So we'll talk with him. Now, the next guy, Quentin Thomas from Brobridge High School. Not quite as big, but still explosive.
Thomas is an interesting prospect. He was a defensive end and a 30 front. LSU is going to play him at defensive tackle. About 6'4", close to 285, 290 pounds. He's grown from an end into a tackle. He's going to be a guy that LSU is going to hang a little bit more muscle on, put him inside, use him as a physical presence. He is a guy that he may not have the physical ability as Johnson, but he's going to be a guy that if LSU could use him like they used Michael Brockers as a bigger body guy to kind of clog up the middle and allow the linebackers to run around, could be successful in the scheme.
Well, and Brobridge is a great program to come from. They do a tremendous job of developing athletes. But what is it going to take for him to put that bulk on? I know you get to college, it's a totally different situation in terms of strength and conditioning.
No doubt about it, he's going to have to walk in and get a red shirt. He's going to have to take his time off the field, in the weight room, working on things, making sure that his body and his physical maturity continue to develop. He could play football at a really high level. He's just going to have to take a little bit of time to put it all together.
Well, and Coach Brick Haley is going to make sure that he does take that time. And I think that's the important part about developing young athletes. Sometimes players can come right in and make a big impact. But as you get high school kids right out of high school and give them the time to develop, it's something that the coaching staff at LSU has done a tremendous job of.
The most important thing when looking at recruits is don't put an expiration tag on these guys. It may take one guy a month to get everything underneath him and ready to go. It may take another guy 2 years to get himself ready to go. If the coaching staff sees progress amongst the players and these guys come in and handle their business, it may take different times for different people for the light to go on, for it to totally click. That's why it's important that everybody's not judged the same. The results are always going to be there on the field, but when these guys mature and they put it all together, it's the most important. The most important thing is don't put an expiration tag on these guys.
All right, 2 recruits committed so far. The defensive line, expect possibly 2 more. When we come back after this break, we will meet Anthony Johnson, the freak from O. Perry Walker. We'll get to know him a little bit better right after this on Bayou Bengals Insider. Welcome back to Bayou Bengals Insider. I'm Jimmy Frederick. We have the pleasure of being joined now by a man among boys here. I tell you what, Anthony Johnson. They call him the Freak. He is the defensive tackle commitment from O. Perry Walker. And, we've kind of talked about you as a football player with Derek. Now it's time to talk to you about Anthony Johnson as a person. And, man, we really appreciate you being here on Bayou Bengals Insider.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Listen, we got to see you 3 or 4 times on the Cox Ford Game of the Week, and just an impressive senior season, an impressive career at Oak Prairie Walker. But just really quickly wanted to get your thoughts on the recruiting process and what it was like for you.
Well, it's been a great process so far, you know what I mean? I've been recruited by some of the top colleges in the country. You know, I committed early as a junior to the University of Tennessee when Lane Kiffin was the head coach there. And just committing early, it got a lot off my chest, you know what I mean? I could just focus on my high school senior season and just finish playing ball, do what I do best.
Well, now you've committed to LSU. You feel good about that decision?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. You know, I committed to Les Miles and the Tigers, you know, in December of last year, you know what I mean? It's a great honor to be a part of the LSU family right now, and I'm just really amped up to go in next Tuesday and, you know, start school.
All right, you finished your high school career as a football player a month or so ago, a couple of months ago, and now you're graduated. You're going to LSU in just a week or so. That's got to be an interesting transition for you.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You know, I take challenges on well, you know what I mean? I'm just ready to get in and, you know, see what I have to face, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a big transition going in from high school at such an early stage in your life. But I'm just ready, you know, the coaches are in my corner, the academic advisors are in my corner. I'm just ready, you know, start school at LSU.
Well, it says a lot about you as a person and the commitment you have to academics. I mean, a lot of people don't do what you're doing. And how important has the academics been, especially in high school? I know Coach Powell has helped you a lot as well at Oak Prairie Walker.
It's been real important, you know what I mean? I graduated right now. I'm number 11 in my class. You know, I have a 3.75 GPA.
Wow.
And I just like academics, you know what I mean? You can't be nothing in life without academics. I want to get my degree in 3.5 years, so I really, you know, just want to hit the road running, you know what I mean?
You've done that for sure. We talked to Lael Collins about how close this recruiting class seems to be. Is that what you're feeling too?
Oh, yeah. We call the recruiting class the fam for a reason. You know what I mean? Me, Lael Collins, and Jarvis Landry really take the initiative on to being the leaders of that class. And, you know, we just love our prospects and we love everybody who wants to be a part of the fam. But it's a great class right now, man, and we just want to help LSU win a couple of national championships.
I can tell you right now, you got a lot of people out there that want you to do just that.
No doubt.
All right. Now, your 3.75 GPA, Mr. Football, number 2 prospect in the free world, as Derek Ponamsky said, and also a choir member.
Well, you know, being in the choir all my life has really been a blessing, you know what I mean? The Lord blessed me with that gift, and you just have to use it. It's something like football. You know, when you're blessed to play football, you just have to put all the tools together and just play. But being blessed with the voice of an angel, you know, God has really granted me with a dream come true, you know what I mean? I use and I've been singing ever since I was 4 years old, so it's been a real blessing for me to sing.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you get a little sample?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. That's a little something.
Wow. Wow. All right. So we've got a superstar football player, a Grammy-winning artist at some point, and getting your degree in 3.5 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
My goodness, man, that is tremendous. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about football. What are you're the number 2 prospect in the country. What does that mean for you?
It was a big accolade I got, you know what I mean? I wanted to be number 1, but you know, a lot of people aren't blessed enough, you know, to have those accolades. But I worked hard, you know what I mean? And I proved a lot of people that I wanted to be number 1, and I really laid it on the line on the field. But being the number 2 player in the country is that's a big accomplishment, you know what I mean? I just took it with, you know, the humbleness, you know, just to stay kind, you know, appreciate what was given to me.
Got a couple of seconds left, and I haven't asked you, how did you get the name The Freak? I might have a couple of ideas, but being that you're 900 feet tall.
Well, I accompanied that name at the University of Tennessee. Monty Kiffin gave me that name when I ran. Yeah, I was 315 pounds, and I went 4.84 in the 40. And ever since then, you know, Monty Kiffin just been calling me The Freak, and it just stuck with me. You know, fans and children and parents, you know, everybody around the country just kept that name on me. So I just took it and ran with it.
So you're okay with it?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Anthony Johnson, thank you so much for being with us, man. We wish you all the best. We can't wait to see you in the purple and gold coming up next year.
No doubt. I can't wait. Appreciate it.
Anthony Johnson, they call him The Freak. We've got a lot more coming up on Bayou Bengals Insider. Welcome back to Bayou Bengals Insider. You know, Coach Les Miles has given us a lot of access to his coaching staff, and this week, Derek Ponamsky sat down with defensive line coach Brick Haley.
Coach, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes of your busy schedule to come talk with us a little bit here. You know, as we get a little further into the recruiting process, get closer to signing day, we want to take a little minute to talk a little bit about the process as a whole. You know, you have had experience in the National Football League coming down to college. How has your experience in pro football helped you as a recruiter?
Well, I think, you know, having that opportunity to go and coach at that level, the speed of the game is so much faster. It gives you an opportunity to come in and actually watch guys and see guys and actually have an opportunity to say, hey, you know, this guy's going to be a really good player, because as you project from what you've seen in that other level, because they play so fast and it's not as many guys, and those guys are, you know, they don't practice as long. They got, you know, they got a tougher schedule as far as time restraints and things like that. But just to evaluate talent overall, I think it's been unbelievable for me to have that experience and to be able to come back here and share that with our group and with our guys and the guys that I recruit.
When you walk into a home as a guy who was the defensive line coach of the Chicago Bears, does that give you a little bit more of an air of credibility in some of these guys' eyes?
You know, I think for the most part, it's no different. The high school players, they want to become college players. The college players, they want to become NFL players. So I think in a sense, it does give you a little bit more when you walk into a home and you've been on that level. But I think the biggest part is, excuse me, most kids want to play championship football.
They want to win.
Regardless what level it is. And to me, I think that's the biggest portion of it. Certainly being in the National Football League helps.
When you were in the National Football League and you would have your time leading up to the draft, you would spend a lot of time evaluating players. How is it, you know, with being a college coach, how, you can evaluate all the guys you want, but if you really aren't the kind of guy who can close it out, it doesn't matter how good a talent evaluator you are. You actually have to go out and find the mix of the right talent and be the right recruiter. How hard is that to kind of juggle that?
Well, I think when you compare it against the NFL, it's all slotted. You know, you got so many picks in this round, you got so many picks in that round, and then you got to go by need base. I mean, you got to go by the numbers and the needs that you have at those positions. And so I think it's a little bit different than recruiting. And of course, you get to go out and actually draft those guys, and those guys have no say once you draft them.
If you don't like Green Bay,
it's tough.
You got to get in the plane.
That's exactly right. You got to get you a big coat and some gloves and some hats. But in recruiting high school players, I think it's really important that you develop a relationship with those guys, and that those guys understand that they can trust you and that you're a guy that's reliable and accountable, not only for their actions but for your actions. And if you do those things, those guys respect you. And the big part of it is getting to know a guy. I mean, you don't get to know a guy by 1 or 2 phone calls. You got to spend time with him. You got to know what he likes, what his family likes. I just think there's so many more facets to recruiting than drafting. Drafting's all about, excuse me, all about measurements. 40 times, vertical jumps, bench press, shuttle runs, you know, intelligence. It's just so many facets that go along in the NFL game, because they go so in depth. They get to get an opportunity to go back in the history of a young man's life from maybe even the 8th grade. I mean, we don't have the time and the manpower to do that.
It's all about resources.
Exactly. We don't have the time to do that. So what we have to do is we have to become very good friends and close friends with the guys that we're recruiting. And we have to make them understand what we're looking for, and they have to understand what their responsibilities are going to be once they get here. And if both parties can come to grips with that, then normally you get a pretty good fit.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot, and we'll be right back with more Bayou Bengals Insider right after this.
We're back on Bayou Bengals Insider, and of course we thank Coach Les Miles for giving us the great access that he did to the coaching staff. You know, it just doesn't get any better than Coach Brick Haley, always so accommodating, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great for us to be able to provide a little bit more perspective than just the player's side and to find out exactly what goes into the entire process.
Well, you know, LSU has always been known as a running team, as long as I can remember, and we now turn our attention to running backs. And we have a great stable of running backs right now with Stephen Ridley, you got Ware, you got all kinds of guys, but they always seem just to reload, and that's what they do this year with 3 big-time commitments, and we start off with Kenny Hilliard. We saw him a lot on the Cox 4 Game of the Week this year.
Kenny Hilliard's an interesting prospect because he's been such a dominating rusher. He's a big-bodied guy, a physical downhill rusher. When you look at what LSU did in the Cotton Bowl, that's exactly what the kind of offense Kenny Hilliard could thrive in. The advantage that Kenny Hilliard has, and just like Freak Johnson, he's going to be a guy who's going to enroll in January. The advantage that he has is he's going to come in, get in the weight room, work on getting himself in shape. He's got an advantage to play right away because he's so good at pass protection. Playing in a spread offense at Patterson, he was able to become more natural at being on the field in passing situations and picking up the blitzer. That's an advantage that he has.
And that's something a lot of running backs don't necessarily get to do in high school. And if you come in with that skill, boy, that really means something, especially to the LSU coaching staff.
Yeah, you have to be versatile. You have to be able to play and contribute in all facets of the game. We saw a couple of the younger running backs this year weren't able to get on the field as early as they would have liked. They can run the ball with authority, but it comes down to can they do all of the things that you need to be a full rounded player.
Jeremy Hill from Redemptorist High School, committed, decommitted, recommitted. He's recommitted 6'1". He's 224 pounds. What are his prospects now coming into the LSU playing time?
Hill's another guy like Hilliard, a big-bodied guy. When he starts, when he runs the ball and he gets between the tackles and gets a little crease, he's got deceptive speed. A lot of guys say, well, he doesn't have great speed. But I could tell you, I've watched him numerous times. I've never seen anybody catch him from behind. He gets into the clear. He can get to the end zone. He's a guy that there's been a situation with him where he decommitted and now he's back in. His heart's always been at LSU, and it's great to see that he's going to come back into the fold. He could be really productive at LSU.
I'm glad you mentioned that he has deceptive speed because I've never really thought in watching him that he was super fast. But like you said, I've never seen anybody catch him from behind either, and he is able to not only plow through people, he's very athletic, and he's able to jump over people. And something I saw on one of the games we had, just tremendous athleticism.
Look, there's no doubt about it. One of the greatest advantages that running backs can have is the ability to not take a hit. People always want to talk about being physical. If you have the body control where you can make sure that when you do take a hit, it's a glancing blow and not a hard, full-on hit, that certainly helps you in your durability.
Our next commitment is Terrence McGee from Franklinton High School, accounted for over 4,000 yards of offense this year, and a tremendous prospect at only 5'9", 195 pounds.
But you know what? Guy could play football. He's a state championship quarterback, left-handed thrower, phenomenal baseball player, also a guy that might be wearing the purple and gold in the outfield for the Tigers. But when you look at what Terrence McGee can add to a football team, he's versatile. He can be a guy that if LSU wants to run a wildcat package, can still be a threat throwing the ball. He's also a guy that if you want to dot him in the I formation and use him to get to the corner, he's got that kind of quickness. He has that kind of speed where he could be a home run threat. Terrence McGee is probably the most underrated player in this class, and 3 years down the line, if he was an All-American, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Could he be somebody that could possibly also maybe return punch, return kicks, things like that?
Certainly. He's a guy that with the ball in his hands changes the scoreboard. You want to do everything you can to find a way to get Terrence McGee involved in the game with the ball in his hands.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about philosophy now with the coaching staff of LSU and why they've gone after these blue-chip prospects at running back when they have seemingly an endless supply of running backs at this point.
You look at 2 years ago, the 2009 season, LSU had, going into the season, 6 running backs that everybody thought were good enough to play in the SEC. Charles Scott gets hurt, Keelan Williams gets hurt, Richard Murphy gets hurt. You end up with a situation where Stephen Ridley, who started the season as your fifth-string running back, because Trendon Holiday was getting reps at running back, he ends up starting your last 3 games. You can never have enough big bodies in the SEC to run the ball. Now, LSU's brought in Spencer Ware, Alfred Blue, Jakari Gore, J.C. Copeland is now playing fullback. Brandon Worley is now playing is that fullback. Those guys right there. When you add in Michael Ford, who was a redshirt freshman, you got 6 freshmen on the roster right now, either redshirt freshman or true freshman, and you're adding these 3 guys. But you need the depth. This is the SEC, and if LSU wants to continue to be a running team, you need to make sure you have depth at that position.
Well, we've gone through it. We looked at our defensive line prospects. We've also taken a look at the running backs. Of course, we've talked with Brick Haley and we've talked with Anthony Johnson. So a good second week of Bayou Bengals Insider.
Like every other good team, we're getting better every week. Right?
There you go. 3 weeks left till signing day. Next week, we take a look at the wide receivers and also special teams. And don't forget, you can check out BayouBengalsInsider.com to be inside the game and inside the Tigers.
Yeah, we're doing everything we can. It's obviously a lot going on in Tiger Town right now.
We've got a lot coming up, 2 more shows, and then we have the Bayou Bash. Bayou Bengals Insider will be back next week. Have a great one, everybody.